Morning，早上好。那然后我是王国芳，香港政府的。今天早上很高兴在这里。然后这个我用那个英文做这个presentation。那其实现在我们说香港的时候呢，很多时候我们都是会以这个大湾区去开始，香港、澳门，然后跟其他9个城市我们现在有这个大湾区的概念，所以我这里呢就是会先说这个大湾区然后呢就是也这个大屿路的这个事情，这个大计划还有呢就是当然香港在航运在其他范畴我们怎么样可以在这个多做一点。我刚才说我会用那个英语，现在我用了普通话哈。Now, for the Greater Bay Area, actually, we think it is actually a very good initiative to have this Southern China cooperation because for just any one single city, actually, we are just by ourselves, especially for Hong Kong, we are so small with 7 million people. And I think there was a saying that for any city to develop into a metropolitan city, it would need to have at least 10 million people. Now we are 3 million short, but then we've got a lot of same countrymen just next door. So actually it's a very good idea to make use of that. Now, I think there are 3 consensus around the world about China. It's very big in land area. We have a very big population, and our GDP is growing to a very big size. Now, for the population of Greater Bay Area, we have 68 million people. Now, put it in perspective, is the size of UK or the size of Italy. For the land size, we've got 56,000 kilometers squared. In perspective, that's the size of Ireland. Now, for GDP, 1.3 trillion US dollars. That actually is about 10% of China's total GDP. In perspective, that's the size of Indonesia. So now all these are actually very big numbers. But what we would like to do is how we can develop it further. And of course, the Greater Bay Area actually is being named and witnessed at the national level. And I think it is quite different from the other Bay Areas because it means the cooperation will be much stronger than any other loose arrangements. Now, Battle of the Bays. I like this title of the page because obviously people like competitions and battles, and this will wake people up. But then I think the battle is more on the ranking rather than actual competition on throwing things away from each other. I've got 4 over here. Of course, Shanghai over here is a very big Bay Area. But I think for this actually, for comparison perspective. Now, for the area and natural population, I think I said it already, we are very big. For the GDP per capita, you can see Greater Bay Area in these 4 bays, we are actually the lowest. But then, of course, among the, this is only the average. Among the 11 cities, actually, we've got a range. For the lowest one, actually, is as low as 7,000 US dollars per capita. And that actually, it is where you could go for cheap labor, cheap land to kind of like arbitrage of your activities. On the other hand, for the Greater Bay Area, Hong Kong, actually, we do not have the highest per capita. Rather, it is Macau, which has got the highest. They are actually quite comparable to the average of Greater New York Bay Area. For Hong Kong, our average GDP per capita is about 40,000. But for Macau, actually, it is about 60,000. So actually, it's quite a lot more. And of course, Macau, it enjoys the entertainment industry, lifestyle, and also they have a relatively small population. So the per capita is very high. And for those you do not know, actually, they enjoy a very handsome handout of cash to the government for the past many years. This year, they are getting $9,000. And Hong Kong, we are very envious of that. Now, for the total GDP I mentioned is 1.3 trillion. And of course, what we see is that for the Greater Bay Area in Hong Kong, Southern China, we have a big potential to grow further. Because for Hong Kong, we have very strong financial industry. and at the same time, maritime industry. Whereas our neighbors, Shenzhen, actually is the hub for high-tech technology. Tencent, I think it is capitalization-wise is in the top 5 now globally. They are headquartered in Shenzhen. Huawei, which is on hardware communication equipment, they are also in Shenzhen. So we've got this neighbor, which is very strong in the technology. Just now, the panel mentioned about interruptive technology. Now, this is something that I think there are a lot of things that could be done between Shenzhen and Hong Kong. And then, of course, high-tech manufacturing to also industrial, traditional manufacturing is very big in this area too. In this room, I think a major percentage of the handphone actually being made in southern China. Then, of course, besides working, we would like to have a very balanced lifestyle. That's where Macau also come into place. So we believe actually for the Greater Bay Area, we have a very comprehensive offering. Whereas, for example, comparing to New York is strong. You can see in terms of the stock market capitalization is much, much bigger than Hong Kong. However, for example, in the other parts, for example, high-tech is actually stronger over there in San Francisco Bay Area. Whereas Hong Kong, we've got a strong financial center over here, technology-wise next door in Shenzhen. So we believe with this comprehensive offering, the growth is actually much bigger in terms of potential in the next 10 years. And of course, this is a start, and we would for sure need to have infrastructure and conduits to bring people and also cargo shipment and money actually also throughout the area. Now that's why we are building a lot of different infrastructures. Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, which will be launched this year. And I think actually if you fly to Hong Kong, actually around the airport, if you look out of the plane, actually you can see the bridge there already. It is more or less done. And at the same time, we are building a high-speed rail link to connect to Shenzhen. Now, this actually is very important because it will be tapping into the high-speed rail link network inside of mainland China, and that will help to reduce the connection time between Hong Kong and mainland China. One example, from Hong Kong to Shanghai, it will be about 7-8 hours. Whereas to Beijing, over here you can see it's about 9 hours. So actually it will help, for example, the traveling, because actually I think a lot of business people, when they do, for example, Hong Kong, Beijing, they could also stop over at different points for other business meetings and all. So these are actually very important connection. Whereas Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, for those they are here in Shanghai, you know you've got this bridge connecting Shanghai and Ningbo. And this is exactly the same concept. Both are actually a river delta, and at the river mouth, you've got the connection there. So you can do kind of like a triangle. Over here, you've got Shanghai, Ningbo, and Hangzhou. Whereas southern China, you've got Hong Kong, Macau, and then Guangzhou. So the triangle is there. If you shift the triangle here in Shanghai by 90 degrees clockwise, that's exactly where Pearl River Delta is, where the Greater Bay Area is. I mentioned about these two projects. And besides this bridge, which I mentioned, now existing bridge, there is a small one over here. Traffic jam over there is serious and easily 2 hours wait for any cars passing through that. Now with this bridge, then of course the circle is completed. However, we are still looking at building 2 more bridges over there. So in the future, this river mouth actually will be very well connected. And that is what we want exactly, because for the people and also cargo, it's very important for them to move around. And of course, ports. Now, Shanghai port actually earlier, the mayor has mentioned about the throughput already, and this obviously is outdated. Now, for the Greater Bay Area, actually, we've got 3 ports, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and Hong Kong. And putting them together actually is very substantial. And of course, the same is for Shanghai and Ningbo ports. The drive over here is that the cluster, we are trying to create this clustering effect, not of course, we are neighboring ports, so there will be a certain level of competitions. But then at the same time, there are also cooperations trying to minimize the negative effects of competition. So for Greater Bay Area, the way I put it is, any one city along the Greater Bay Area is only one dot. However, what we are planning now, the initiative of Greater Bay Area, is going to be able to put a bigger, much bigger dot on this Belt and Road. And also in terms of supporting the Belt and Road initiative, we will be able to do much more than just one single city alone. Now, before I go into that, actually, I would like to, because a lot of companies are saying it's so big, so vague, and it seems like it's hard to get the hand on the pulse. But I think it's natural. He's talking about 60-some, 70 countries. And I think even for 60-some, 70 companies to work together actually is complicated already, not to mention countries. So this actually could very well a century project. And then a lot of people also mentioned that Belt and Road actually is an export of excess capacity to the developing country. I would look at it from another perspective. Actually, this is an export of experience of how China developed from a poor country to a very successful country, very quickly and without any hard landing. For those people, my first time actually coming into Beijing was 1975, and actually it was very different. And I think with the economic development, actually you will think for such a big country developed so fast without any hard landing. Actually, this is a very good story, a good lesson for anyone to learn, especially for developing countries. And of course, how to prioritize the spending, whether to bring in technology, and how to deal with the relatively low in domestic consumption. And all these are actually lessons needed from those developing countries. Now, back to the opportunities. What we see is that Hong Kong as a financial hub and also a lot of experience in the major infrastructures involving many different parties. We've got a lot of experience which we could use on the Belt and Road initiatives. Of course, initial phase of Belt and Road is on infrastructure, is on, for example, power plants, transportation, and all that. And that's where Maritime is involved. And also project financing. For the financing side, actually, we have also being approved of the AIIB member. So that would mean that we will be able to offer project loans, bond issuance, and all different kind of financial support to that. On that, actually, I think one of the strengths of Hong Kong is we have a very big financial market, stock market. For example, we've got the Hong Kong Shenzhen Connect and also Hong Kong Shanghai Connect. Basically, it means within the 3 stock markets of China, you will be able to trade that through Hong Kong. And also renminbi. Now, actually, for the renminbi pool in Hong Kong, actually, this is the biggest in the world. So for any kind of business which involve renminbi and US dollars and euro, actually, this is something that you can have it managed there in Hong Kong. And because of the importance of the infrastructure financing, actually, we have also established this office within the Hong Kong government. Now, this is to give a platform for the infrastructure financing professionals, including development banks, other banks, construction companies, and all the relevant parties to be involved, to have a dialogue in how to do this kind of infrastructure financing better in Hong Kong. And of course, so for the maritime sector, actually, it is supporting a lot of infrastructure projects and power projects. So actually, it is a very good platform for the maritime industry to make use of. If you know, there are 77 members, and actually the member list is there. If you want to voice out your opinions or concerns, actually you can make use of these 77 members and let us know. And of course, the other way is that you can also let me know directly. And these are the involvement of Hong Kong companies on the Belt and Roads. And actually, there are a lot of companies that they are here already. When my colleagues preparing this, it says to name a few, but actually they didn't put any names on it. I don't know why, because actually these are actually all common knowledge and information in the public domain. And of course, China Merchant and also Costco have a lot of investment and involvement in this. Now, for us, Invest Hong Kong, we are a Hong Kong government department. What we do is mainly to facilitate entry into Hong Kong. So whatever questions you have, you can let us know. I cover mainly transport and industrial. So it's a big chunk of maritime and cluster in my portfolio. This is actually something that we are trying to push more on the maritime side. That's why we have this Maritime Week in November in Hong Kong. So this is something that you could look at. If you are traveling to Hong Kong, through Hong Kong, you can plan your traveling, maybe spend a week or some days over there, because there are a lot of different seminars and activities over there. Another thing is Belt and Road. Belt and Road, we have a Belt and Road Summit in Hong Kong in June. I think this is a very good chance to actually to meet with the stake players and also to know about the most updated information of the Belt and Road Initiative. We've got this summit for a few years already, and every single time is being officiated by the top government official from Beijing. So actually, and of course, a lot of support from mainland enterprises also. Then this is me here, and Shanghai, we also have an office. So if you need to talk to somebody over here in Shanghai, you can talk to Ms. Yong, Ada. And actually, we've got 2 other colleagues over here from Shanghai office. For mainland China, we have another 4 offices, Beijing, Chengdu, Wuhan, Guangzhou. And these we would love to drive bigger on this. And actually, mainland China is the economy which we've got the most number of offices around the world. We've got totally about 30, 5 over here in mainland China. In comparison, USA, we've got 2, 1 in New York, 1 in San Francisco. But of course, mainland's importance is actually the origin of investment to Hong Kong and also destination of investments coming out from Hong Kong. And that's why these 5. I think my time is up, and please, if you have any questions, please come to me, and actually we've got 2 other colleagues over here. We would like to answer any questions you have. Thank you.